Imagine a world where the exchange of silk, spices, and ideas spanned continents centuries before the age of globalization. This was the world of the ancient Silk Road. Emerging around the 2nd century BCE during China's Han Dynasty, the Silk Road was a network of trade routes, some over land, some by sea, that connected China with Central Asia, India, Persia, the Middle East, and Europe. Starting at Xi'an, this 400-kilometer route followed the Great Wall of China, bypassed the Taklamakan Desert, climbed the Pamir Mountains, crossed Afghanistan, and reached the Levant, from where goods were shipped across the Mediterranean to Rome. Silk flowed west, while wools, gold, and silver moved east. The Silk Road also carried religions: Buddhism from India to China, Nestorian Christianity from the Middle East, and technologies like papermaking, which was invented in China in 105 CE. The Silk Road was never a single path but a shifting web of routes with goods and ideas relayed by a series of middlemen. Few merchants ever traveled the entire distance. Over time, the route's fortunes rose and fell with the rise and fall of empires. For example, when the Han Dynasty fell in 220 CE, the Silk Road became less secure and trade suffered. Later, under the Mongol Empire, especially after Genghis Khan took power in the early 1200s, security improved and trade boomed again. The Mongol peace allowed travelers like Marco Polo to journey from Venice to China in the 13th century. However, by the 15th century, with the rise of maritime trade and the discovery of new sea routes by European explorers like Christopher Columbus in 1492, the Silk Road's importance waned. Fast forward to the 21st century, and China has revived the Silk Road's vision with the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, launched in 2013. The BRI is the most ambitious infrastructure project in history, aiming to connect more than 2/3 of the world's population across some 65 or more countries, now expanded to around 150 countries as of 2023, through roads, railways, ports, pipelines, and digital networks. The initiative is divided into the Silk Road Economic Belt, land-based, and the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, sea-based, with 6 economic corridors linking China to Southeast Asia, South Asia, Central Asia, Russia, Europe, and the Middle East. The BRI's impact is staggering. By 2024, trade between China and BRI countries reached 22.07 trillion yuan, about $3 trillion USD, up 6.4% from the previous year. In 2015, just 2 years after its launch, China's exports to BRI countries were $295.8 billion, while imports were $189.6 billion. Accounting for over a quarter of China's total trade at the time. Cumulative BRI engagement has now surpassed $1 trillion, with about $634 billion in construction contracts and $419 billion in non-financial investments. In 2023 alone, BRI investments and finance reached $92.4 billion, up from $74.5 billion in 2022. Africa has become the largest recipient of Chinese BRI engagement, overtaking the Middle East, with a strong focus on renewable energy, mining, and technology. The BRI is projected to boost world GDP by 4.2% by 2040, or $7.1 trillion annually, with up to 56 countries seeing GDP increases of more than $10 billion. The initiative is expected to involve up to $8 trillion in spending over the next quarter century. In Southeast Asia, China is involved in 24 out of 34 infrastructure megaprojects, making it the region's largest infrastructure financier. But the BRI is not without its challenges. There is a significant gap between China's promises and actual delivery, more than $50 billion in unfulfilled project financing in Southeast Asia alone, with many projects cancelled, downsized, or stalled. Debt sustainability is a major concern, as some partner countries have struggled to repay loans. Environmental impacts, geopolitical tensions, and uneven benefits also pose serious risks. During the COVID-19 pandemic, 20% of BRI projects were seriously affected, and disbursements dropped by 18% in 2021. Despite these challenges, the BRI continues to expand, with a growing focus on green energy and technology. The ancient Silk Road, from its origins in the 2nd century BCE to its decline in the 15th century, was a transformative force in world history, facilitating trade, cultural exchange, and technological diffusion. Its legacy lives on in the BRI, which has already reshaped global trade and investment patterns since 2013. With over $1 trillion in cumulative engagement, trade volumes exceeding $3 trillion, and the potential to boost global GDP by 4.2% by 2040. The BRI is the most ambitious infrastructure project ever attempted, yet it must navigate debt, environmental, and geopolitical challenges to fulfill its promise of a more connected and prosperous world.